Hey everyone, how's it going? It's that nerd Ryan here, and today we're going to be discussing Thor: Love and Thunder. I saw it earlier today, about 9 hours ago, so I am completely ready to talk about it. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna do the first 5 minutes. We're gonna talk exclusively spoiler free, and then we'll do the ranking system that I created for a video that's coming out later this week. Um, and then we'll talk about spoilers and then do my theories, which I already forgot. I have to rewatch the video. But yeah, so Thor: Love and Thunder. This was a really great movie. It was original. It felt like a Guardians movie and a Thor movie put together, especially at the beginning. It had like great vibes, great story, emotional story. Actually, like you guys might see in my vlog, a very personal connection to me in this story right now, and it had a lot to say about life, about love, about everything, and it did not disappoint. There's every character is three-dimensional in it. We learn lore, we learn everything, or like anything that you'd want in this movie, we pretty much learned it. I'm looking at, so as you guys might know, Kingsman is being the movie of the week that we're reviewing. I started taking notes on it, and I'm just looking at the Kingsman script on accident when I'm just trying to remember the rankings, because I don't like bringing notebooks into movie theaters. It feels weird. But anyways, so for Thor: Love and Thunder, the trailers didn't really give much away. I mean, they did a very good job of not spoiling the movie, but we still get to see some of the cool stuff. Some of the cool action scenes are saved for the movie exclusively, and some characters too. We'll talk about the post-credit scenes at the end because that's the cool part with it. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. Definitely a must-see Marvel movie. I wish I could have gotten a poster of it. I'm looking at my Miss Marvel and my Multiverse of Madness posters. Wish I could have got a Thor: Love and Thunder, but oh well. But yeah, definitely. I think I like Thor Ragnarok better still, but this movie was still top tier Marvel in my opinion. It's better than Multiverse of Madness. Not as good as No Way Home. Way better than Eternals. Just a little bit better than Shang-Chi. And way better than Black Widow if we're just ranking it between the Phase 4 movies. If we're going through Thor's, it would go Ragnarok, this one, at least right now. And then Thor 1, Thor 2. So yeah. Without further ado, let's do the ranking, then we'll talk spoilers. Alright, so for cinematography, this movie was amazing. Cinematography, and just like there's no misunderstandable fight scene, no like awful looking scenery, nothing like that. Gotta give that a 10 out of 10. Script, again, it felt like this was mostly improvised. There's some really funny lines in it, really great one-liners that, like, if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't catch. But they're very funny lines, very funny callbacks, and stuff like that. Script, I gotta give a 9 out of 10. Story, very multifaceted story, very amazing. Every character has a purpose. Every character has a reason that they're there. There's only like kind of one issue that I had, which could fall under script too, which is why I gave it a 9 out of 10. And it really isn't like that big a deal, but we'll talk about it during the walkthrough of the movie and the spoilers. Characters, 10 out of 10 for this. Like I said, every character has a purpose. There's no reason that they're like just throwing a character for something. I mean, Kraglin kind of, but at the same time, it makes sense that Kraglin's there. It's not like They're just putting random characters in just to be like, hey, yeah, it's a Marvel movie, like some of the Marvel movies do, if you get what I mean. And each character is lovingly amazing and well written and everything like that. VFX. The visual effects in this movie were very good as well. Um, Again, 10 out of 10. Just, there's nothing that was like very ugly. Or like, well, I mean, not purposely ugly, because Gore is the scariest MCU character that we've ever had. But yeah, there's nothing like really, really bad visual effects wise. So I gotta give that a 10 out of 10 as well, which makes the overall score, I think it's like a 9.6 out of 10. This movie was, like I said, top tier Marvel. So we're going to get into the spoilers now. I'm going to talk through the whole movie for you guys and tell you my favorite part and talk about the post-credit scenes. Then we'll do the theory. So this actually starts out with Gore's origin of losing his daughter, who is played by India Hemsworth, which I did not know that. That was really cool to find out, especially for later on in the movie. But yeah, so she dies as Gore is praying to his god. And after she dies, he wanders off and finds an oasis in the desert and finds the god that he was praying to, and the god didn't really care. So Gore finds the Necro Sword, which was just attempted to kill this god, and he makes the vow that all gods must die and kills that god. Which then we are cut to the Marvel opening titles, which is all in like a nice electric guitar this time, very much setting the music mood for the movie, which most of this stuff is like late 80s rock, early 90s rock, which is great. But yeah, so then we see Korg basically telling the story about like what Thor's been doing since Endgame, and like summing up other stuff from the other Thor movies. But yeah, we see that Thor he lost himself, and he doesn't know what to do with his life, and is just kind of going through the motions and everything. And he ends up helping save these people that got invaded after their god got murdered, which is the first hint that Gore's kind of going around already starting killing gods. And he is rewarded 2 goats, which these goats were amazing. Because, I mean, every time you see them, they just do the goat scream. Which, if you haven't heard the goat scream, look it up. It's hilarious. It's literally just it sounds like a human screaming. But yeah, so him and Korg decide to leave the Guardians after this. After Star-Lord Peter Quill gives him some advice, which is a main message of the movie, is like you should never feel nothing. It's better. He even says the line, "It's better to feel shitty than feeling nothing," and that line really hit home with me. But that's for another video. But yeah, and it kind of sets the tone for the whole movie of like caring for others and not closing yourself off and everything like that. Because actually, that's what Gore does until the end. Is he closes himself off and he becomes this corrupted, sick villain, because the sword makes you corrupt and sick from losing the one that he loves. He goes down the wrong path. Thor tries to correct himself down the right path. And also in that we are cut to Jane Foster, who has stage 4 cancer. And Natalie Portman does an amazing job as both Mighty Thor and sick Jane Foster in both of this. It's really... her cancer scenes are very hard to watch. I was holding back tears during those because it was so emotional and you could tell how much pain she was in. And then her as Thor being kind of like she was like the new kid on the block almost. It was funny to see that because like she deflects too. Anytime there's an issue, she deflects. So like her falling back in love with Thor, she deflects that. She brings up to Thor when they finally are like falling for each other again. She brings up the fact that she has cancer and then completely tries to change the subject right away. So like we get really good character moments with Jane. We get really good character moments with Thor. We could see that he's evolved so much, especially from Endgame. He's evolved, and it was great to see him as this wiser character. I mean, he's still got his dumb Thor moments, but the wiser character stuff, it's great. Korg is a great character in this too, so is Valkyrie. So Jane gets basically a mental calling from Mjolnir, and that causes her to go after it, and it rebuilds itself in front of her and makes her Thor. So next thing they find out is that Lady Sif was trying to track down Gore the God Butcher and gets her arm cut off, and she warns that he's going to New Asgard next. So Thor shows up to help fight against Gore's Shadow Horde and meets Jane and Mjolnir. And this is another thing which I never thought we would say these are characters, is Mjolnir and Stormbreaker and also another weapon in this are very much so characters. They are not just objects. Actually, all the weapons and the main 4 weapons in this are all characters and not objects. The Necro Sword we actually hear speak in this. But yeah, there's another weapon that we'll get to in a moment. But like Stormbreaker is jealous of Mjolnir. We even get a scene where like Thor's talking about Mjolnir, and you just see out of the corner Stormbreaker float in like, why are you talking about your ex? Like that, which was pretty funny. But yeah, and he gives Stormbreaker a beer, which was hilarious. But yeah, so these weapons are all characters. So anyways, they go and Thor realizes he's still worthy to pick up Mjolnir, by the way. That's a little scene really quick. But they decide to go to basically the pantheon of all the gods. I forgot what it was called. But they go there and try to win over Zeus to create an army. And in this we get a pretty funny scene with Zeus. This was very funny for me because there was a group of like, had to be under 10-year-olds behind me, and they had hopefully had no idea what Zeus was talking about, because he was talking about throwing an orgy. And it was a very funny scene, but I'm like, this is hopefully going over these kids' heads behind me. But yeah, so that's like the main concern about the gods. Like, again, the gods don't care. We notice in this, they just really don't care about anything other than themselves. And in this, he reveals his weapon, which is Thunderbolt, which again, another weapon with a personality we get. So I'm going to kind of speed through this part. So Thor tries to get Zeus to help. Zeus says no. Whole fight ensues, and Thor ends up killing Zeus and stealing Valkyrie steals Thunderbolt. And they head to the Shadow Realm, where, forgot to mention, Gore stole all the Asgardian kids and threw them in the Shadow Realm. So Thor, Jane, and Valkyrie go there. Korg is destroyed in the process, but his face is still surviving because that's the only living part of a Krogan. But yeah, so they go to the Shadow Realm, and it turns out that it's a trap because only Stormbreaker can get to Gore to where he needs to be, which is to meet Eternity. So Jane throws away Stormbreaker in an attempt to stop him, and they end up fighting Gore. Gore forces Thor to call Stormbreaker back. They get a very cool fight scene, and what's so cool about this whole scene, I forgot to mention, it's all in black and white except for like the lighting of the weapons, which is very awesome. But yeah, then we get Gore ends up stealing Stormbreaker as they're trying to get away from as they're trying to get away from the Shadow Realm. In this, Thor finds out that Jane is not healing from Mjolnir, and they get to try to check for her, like see what's going on, but it's getting worse. Valkyrie got stabbed in the process, so she's gonna sit it out. So Thor goes on his own to try to save the kids with just lightning bolt. And I knew that it was gonna end up being Jane comes in to save the day, I was like, why wouldn't he take Mjolnir instead if he's still worthy? But yeah, so he goes, tries to save. He saves the kids, imbues them all with the power of Thor temporarily, and ends up fighting Gore for Stormbreaker. And as he's about to die, Jane shows up to save the day, pretty much damning herself because she will die at this point from exposure to the hammer. So they end up fighting, and Jane beats Gore, and Thor's able to save Stormbreaker, but the portal opens to eternity. Gore comes through, and Jane and Thor go and chase after him, and they actually talk to Gore and realize that he just wants his daughter back. And Gore realizes that too after the Necrosword was destroyed. And as that's happening, Jane dies in Thor's arm and disappears to Valhalla. And Gore dies after his daughter is reborn, and Thor raises Gore's daughter, which again was really cool finding out that that was his real life. That's Chris Hemsworth's real life daughter, and we get a really cute scene with them in the end, and then it cuts, and we get the two post-credit scenes. The first one being that Zeus recruited Hercules, his son, to destroy Thor, and Zeus survived, by the way. And then the next one we get is Jane entering Valhalla and seeing Heimdall, which again, great. So now we're going to talk the 5 theories. I'm going to do a quick cut, rewatch the video, and then we'll discuss which theories I got wrong and right. Alright, so my theories, I got 1.5 right. So the first theory was that this will be Thor's last movie, which is incorrect, because at the end of the film it says Thor will return. Chris Hemsworth also, right after I recorded that theory video, said that he would never want to stop being Thor until they kick him out. So yeah, that was wrong. The next was about Jane getting cancer from the ether. That was never confirmed nor denied in this. So it's possible that could be true, but they also kind of hinted that it was hereditary. So it's quite possible that it was not the ether. Next part was that we'll see Loki in this. We did not. We saw Matt Damon playing Loki, but we didn't see Loki, which was sad. And then the other one was... Oh, and then we also got Thor's back tattoo of Rest in Peace Loki. Then in the next one was that we'd see Beta Ray Bill, which we did not. And then lastly, that the last theory that I can't even remember what it was, that Gore would survive and come back to haunt the MCU. That was incorrect from a certain point of view. Gore did have his daughter come back, and Thor's raising her. So, in a sense, Gore is still in the MCU. It's his daughter. But yeah. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. Follow me on all my social media down below. It's that nerd Ryan telling you, have an amazing day.